Hello, everybody. Welcome to makingmusicmag.com. I'm Chuck Sheely, and today we're doing another artist feature. We are here today with Lucia Sarmiento. Hello, Lucia. How are you?
Hi, Chuck. Very good. How are you doing?
Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doing well. So you start in Peru, is that correct?
Yes, I was born and raised in Lima, Peru.
And how did you find jazz in Peru? Is there a big jazz scene in Peru?
Not really. Back then, especially when I was in middle school, there was a very small music scene. I think I was introduced to jazz by my middle school band director, who actually helped me get into the world. I come from a family of non-musicians. Nobody plays any instruments. So he was the one who got me into this style of music, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Good. And so what was your music education like growing up in Peru?
So I was very lucky that I went to a school where the arts were promoted very heavily. Everything that had to do with music, languages, sports. We had a lot of opportunities to be part of bands and all sorts of bands. And I remember, so I started with the saxophone when I was around 12 because I thought it looked cool. I thought it was loud and I wanted to play it, and I was in a jazz band, and I guess I wasn't very knowledgeable of harmony, but I still had to take solos. And I remember hearing Charlie Parker and then hearing myself. I was like, this doesn't sound anything like it. So I remember always bugging my teacher and being like, hey, I know there is a secret. I know there is something that I'm missing. So can you please teach me theory? Can you please teach me harmony? Can you teach me scales? And I was always very curious, about how did these people make this weird sounds, and why can't I do it yet? So I guess this drive for learning the jazz language is what finally, encouraged me to pursue music education in the United States. And so I arrived here in 2013 thanks to a scholarship. And yes.
Nice. So, so you list in your bio several pretty heavyweight influences. Who are tell us about how they influenced you. You said,
Sure.
of course, the bop thing and everything, but you mentioned some others. Please tell us about that.
Sure. So I guess my main three saxophone influences at the moment are Chris Potter, Michael Brecker, and Bob Mintzer. There's just something about their playing that makes me feel like I'm in danger. Like every time I hear Chris Potter taking a solo, I think he's taking so many risks. It feels like he's hanging off of a cliff and we're all hanging off of a cliff with him. And I don't know, there's something about this adrenaline that I feel when I hear these players, Brecker too, with the intensity that I just adore. And I have
danger. All right.
yes, danger. So yeah, and I hope that I can, also channel that kind of energy into my playing. There's something about a big, strong tenor sound that I love. And to me, playing the tenor feels like taming a bull in a way, because it's such a, big instrument. And I feel a lot of resistance from it from the minute that like I pick it up, starting from like how heavy and big it is.
Sure.
And I just really like the way that those players tame the bull.
That's one of the best answers I've ever heard. That's really cool. I like that answer because I feel emotionally the same way about music, about listening to other people's music or taking it on myself. I like to be on that edge. And if it's not
Yes.
dangerous somehow, come back when it is, you know.
Yes.
So unless of course it's a
Exactly.
sweet love song ballad or something, there's danger changes in that. But
And Chris Potter can play a ballad, and I feel very in danger when he does. Still,
really,
there's just something about that energy and intensity. Um,
I'll check that out. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to write that down actually. Um, I don't listen to him as much as I should, I suppose. Um, so you chose the saxophone because it's dangerous and loud and all those things. And what are your thoughts on the tradition of sax and where you think it'll go from here? So you obviously have made reference to masters who've been around, who they're pioneering in their own ways, but Charlie Parker is obviously of a whole different era than we are and you are going to be.
yes.
So when you look at that, obviously respectfully, since you learned there, the job of a great jazz musician is much like that of an astronaut, where they explore territories we have yet to visit, right? So how
Mhm.
do you see that in your life, or what the saxophone itself? How do you think what do you think will happen as it compares
Mm.
to what has happened? Do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And I honestly haven't thought much about it. I can speak of my own experience, I guess.
Please do.
Um, so yes, so as a woman in the music, I have always had mentors, or people like idols or references who are men, who I have still felt, how do you say this, like I can still relate to them in a musical level because I love what they do and I love how they sound. But there's something that I get when I listen to Beyonce and Ariana Grande and Victoria Monet, who are top 40 pop artists, that I don't get when I listen to jazz, right? And I guess it's this how these women are displaying their power in a female way, in like a feminine way. How they're owning their sensuality as women. And I mean, if you talk to any of my girlfriends who are not musicians, they listen to this kind of music, and I also do love this kind of music. I love listening to a powerful female pop star. um, and so I always wonder, how can I still get that feeling, or how can I display all these things about myself in this kind of music and in this instrument, where traditionally it doesn't go that route, right? It's a total different, like ambiente, like
Jazz
ambient.
started out as its own route. Like it was in defiance of everything that was before it anyway, right? And so
Hmm.
to
That
improvise
is true.
was
That's
against what the king had to say in the European music, right? Or the
true.
church, which defined all those things, church and states. And then jazz comes along and says, screw that,
Hmm.
and they became literally, I like the word astronauts for jazz musicians. They know
Hmm.
the language, they go to territories that no other musician does. They find
Hmm.
the music that nobody has found, especially if you're somebody like Coltrane. My God, like he just knew every way, matrix, scale, all that. And so it seems like you would be in a terrific medium as a jazz artist, because that is the nature of jazz, is to always be forget what we've already done, well, to some
Hmm.
degree, but lean forward into your own future. And it seems like if you're honest about yourself, and as an
Hmm.
empowered, talented woman, you will find that voice, it sounds like to me. And it sounds like you are becoming aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I agree with that.
Jazz needs a great woman saxophonist. I'm trying to think of.
There's many, um I really admire Melissa Aldana. She's a fellow Latin American female saxophone player. She's from Chile, and she's outer worldly. And there's very many. I also I'm aware that in New York there is more of like it's a bigger scene of jazz, so there's got to be more women there. I have been there and I have checked out the city a few times, but I haven't immersed myself in the community yet. So as of now, it still feels like kind of like a lonely, road, like for me. But
But that's a wide open territory. It's all yours if you get there, in time.
sure.
Exciting. I mean, I would be excited for you in that. I mean, the road less traveled, there's always a lot of room in the road less traveled, so
Definitely.
well, good luck with that. I'm sure you'll do great. I mean, I've been listening to you throughout
Thank
the
you.
morning, and it's wonderful music. Um, with COVID, everybody's going online, and it seems like you're doing very well online, according to what I've seen and what you've said. So why don't you tell us, is there a relationship between those two things, or were you online anyway?
Oh, so I started posting videos on the internet back in 2015, and it was transcriptions or it was homework that I had to do for college. And I was just like, okay, if I have to do this for my teacher, I might as well put it on online too for other people to check it out. I went in there with no expectations, and then slowly I started gaining all sorts of attraction,
Hmm.
or all sorts of attention, and now my social media has grown. It's definitely given me opportunities that I wouldn't had if I hadn't been cultivating that for many years, and it has been really helpful during COVID times where all the gigs have been canceled, right? And feel like things are starting to move very rapidly to the internet.
So back in the real world of live music, when you're taking the stage, or you're getting ready to do a show with people, what's on your mind for the benefit of our readers who are learning and all that?
Mhm.
What do you think about when you're taking the stage?
It depends on the kind of music that I'm playing, but there is something very special about the connection of the crowd and the musician who's on stage,
Mhm.
who we're very close to each other. And as a musician, you're giving all your energy and all these emotions and everything you've been carrying for the day. If you have a great day, you're probably going to also irradiate or radiate all this energy into the crowd, and the crowd will respond accordingly to how you make them feel, to which is correlated to how you feel as well. So I always try to go on stage with openness, and friendliness. I want to feel connection with the people. And I love playing more commercial music, if you want to call it like that, funk, pop, where people are standing up and they're dancing and they're maybe drinking a beer and they're giving you so much energy back that it just feels, like this back and forth that I love.
Yeah, fellowship. It's one of the best aspects of being a live performer. I guess that's what it's all about, anyways, the fellowship. Um, so how about when you practice? What's on your mind when you sit down to practice? You're getting focused, and
Mhm.
you have something planned or unplanned. What do you think what's your practice routine like?
I try, I guess my practice routine is very many things and it changes from month to month sometimes. It depends on what I am preparing for, what are my weaknesses at the time that I'm noticing that I want to fix ASAP. But when I go in the practice room, I always try to be very honest with myself and say, what are your weaknesses and how can we get over them? How can we fix those weaknesses? And I started doing bullet journaling about 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I found some videos online, and it consists on making a plan for the year, and then you break it down to months. then you break that down to weeks, and then you break that down to days, you know? And I have found that finding your goals long term and then breaking them down into smaller, more attainable, smaller goals is a very good way to practice. Um, so I go in the practice room trying to fight my weaknesses all the time. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And also, I am very, very passionate about weightlifting. I started exercising because,
Well, the tenor sax certainly comes in handy for that, then, doesn't it?
yes, that's what I was going to say. That, well, I am a small person, and the saxophone is so heavy that if I wasn't in good shape physically, I probably wouldn't be able to play it for maybe, I don't know, for much longer. I would probably have to quit at some point. And I have found that when I am feeling weak, when I don't take care of my body, I don't take care of my eating, I don't sleep well, I also don't perform as well on my instrument. So I started getting into the world of weightlifting and exercising to be strong. um,
How much can you bench?
oh, my bench isn't my that's not my strength.
Okay.
How much can you bench?
I don't know. I haven't. I can bench dinner. I eat my hamburger. That's about all
Yeah.
I do.
And I am very, when I started getting more serious about weightlifting and trying to be strong, um, what I do is I write down how much weight I'm doing, how many reps, and I found that doing this same thing of journaling your practice, how fast you did this exercise, um, it helps you come back the next day, know where you left off, and make it harder, make yourself go to the next step. If it may it can be with speed, with especially with speed. I think for practicing technique, this approach works very well, very good for me.
Hmm. How about yoga? Do you ever incorporate yoga to your routine? Or
I
just
haven't much, but
yeah,
I would like to. Mhm.
that's what I do. It's you don't rip any elbow muscles by that resistance or anything like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So you teach in both Spanish and English, yes?
Yes, I do have a lot of students from Latin America. Mhm.
How's that going?
It's going good. I consider myself a very lucky person to have been able to study, in the United States. Because I mean, people here, I guess maybe it's taken a little for granted because you guys are already here. But when you're a person in Latin America, going to the United States is the ultimate dream, especially if you want to pursue a music career. And I did it. I came here with a lot of luck and hard work and the help of very many people. And I know how hard it is to find information in Spanish, especially if you can't speak English. There is a lot of videos on YouTube about anything that you want to learn. But if
Mm.
you don't speak English, it's like you're missing 50% of the knowledge that you could have. And so yes, I'm very actively putting educational content in Spanish, in YouTube and Patreon. Everything is affordable, and accessible for people who are where I come from. For people where I come from.
So do you like Minneapolis as a music scene? I've played there. I liked it. Do you?
Yes, it's a great music scene, great musical community.
You better do better uptown or downtown?
I like Northeast.
Northeast? Okay, yeah,
Yes,
cool.
it's nice.
Um, so also again, for the benefit of our learning musicians who are
Mhm,
watching today, what would you tell to somebody who's interested in the saxophone or music in general, about
mhm.
what to expect or, encouraging words to help them get off on the right or their best start?
Hmm. So
28.
yes, a lot of times people think that being a musician is just going to the bar and drinking beer with your friends and playing music and then going home and chilling all day. But I'm gonna say it is a full-time job, especially if you're trying to pursue a career in music and you're your own boss. You're not signed to any labels or anything. Um, there's a lot of hard work that needs to be put in, very many hours, and it is not an easy road. There's, well, you know, like how I said, I every time I go in the practice room, I face my demons, which are my weaknesses, you know.
Good.
There's a lot of uncomfortableness in it, but if you put the work and you're prepared and you are a good person, if you show up in time, if you smile, if you are friendly and easy to work with, the rewards are going to be unimaginable. You know, it's totally worth it to be to pursue the arts as a career.
Very good advice. Remember to smile too, right? You know, that's an interesting point. You know, there's a lot of great musicians on the planet.
Mhm.
There are more than we will ever know. And, you know, I know a lot of people where I just shake my head. It's like, why is that person a big deal on TV, but not some of my friends? You know, if they're up there, then so should these guys. There's only so many seats in that high court, I guess. But um, hard work is always the common denominator. The to expect that it is not a convenient road and to take a lot of hard criticism a long time certainly seems to be the way to go. But you know, with that said, with all the hard work that musicians do and as many talented people are out there, it's almost like the great musicians can be a dime a dozen to a club or a big record company. And really it kind of comes down to, once again, just a human decision a lot of times to be a good person, because you can work with, if there's three great players and two of them aren't nice and one of them is, guess who gets chosen, right? So
Exactly.
that's always something that should be never underestimated for those wanting to get into music. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, the human connection is so important, especially because I feel that music is just the language, is the medium that we're using to connect with each other. But at the end of the day, it's just like hanging. It's like having a conversation, and you want to have conversation with people who are interesting, people who are kind, you know, people who have something to give and who will receive and listen as well.
Yeah, I have to say that aside from the music itself, the joy of being in that place in your head where the music exists, meeting people such as what we're doing here has been
Hmm.
the second greatest part of being in the music, because of the music path. The people I've met and the friends I've made is just what a great life I've had. You know, if today was my last day, I'd be very happy with
Hmm.
life and where music
Yeah.
took me. So you're gonna have a great time. Um, so okay, you're releasing an album, yes?
Yes, I'm working currently on an album, released my first single ever last weekend. I'm living the dream.
That's the name of the single.
No, the
Oh,
name of the single is Escape.
Escape. And can we find it? Tell all our people where we can find that thing if it's
Sure,
up.
it's on all platforms. It's on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Music, iTunes, Bandcamp, etc.
Right? Are you going to have any kind of online release about it? You know, a little concert online or something to kick all that off?
I haven't been planning any online concerts, but I'm not taking that off the table. Mostly waiting for shows to come back and be able to play perform my music live.
Let's
Mhm.
hope so. I can't wait.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for visiting us today, Lucia. We appreciate you being here for another artist feature here at Making Music Magazine. And why don't you tell our folks what your website is so that they can come and see you?
Of course, it's luciasarmiento.com. LuciaSarmiento.
Great. And so, folks, if you're having a good time here today, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you hit all uh, our social media platforms. We're everywhere, all the time, every day, all the time. So, thanks for visiting, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.